Yo, what's up guys? Welcome to today's video. Today I wanted to talk about a deck that I think has a lot of potential. For those who are unaware, I'm actually a pretty big fan of like rogue strategies. I usually like playing decks that aren't always the best decks, just because I think you get a really nice edge sometimes when you play stuff that people don't expect. And like I had a lot of success playing those type of strategies. So today I'm going to explore a strategy that I saw being played in the OCG and a deck that has been performing actually consistently well, right? And that deck is the Silence Enforcer deck. If you've watched my latest YouTube video, you would have seen that I kind of like wanted to learn a little bit more about how this deck functions, and so I hosted a free tournament, and then I watched and observed how this deck was being played out. I became a little bit more familiar with it, and as a result, I think I got some insight into how the deck ultimately functions. And so today I'm going to be sharing you my version, my list, and what the deck ultimately looks like from my perspective as I try to build it and then cook it up, right? Hopefully the Silence Forcer cards are relatively cheap, so that when you do get the chance to purchase them, they'll be a lot cheaper. But guys, before we continue, don't forget to check out sleevechiefs.de. They're going to be releasing some really sick discounts this Sunday. You can pay for 3 border sleeves, and you can get 4 border sleeves for the price of 3. So that's a really nice discount there. There's going to be a bunch of restocks. So for example, you're going to have the Labyrinth border sleeves, the Fire border sleeves for if you're enjoying the Fire decks, the Millennial, the Itachi's Wrath, Prosperity sleeves. You're going to be getting the Toon sleeve, the Death sleeves, the Dark World sleeves, so a bunch of really nice stuff. This is also for the new Yubel archetype. We have something called the Yubel Terror. So if you're interested in like Yubel and like the new Yubel archetype that's coming out in Maze of Millennia, then this might be nice for you. Also, you can see what it looks like on a card itself, right? So it looks pretty sweet. So don't forget to go check it out and use pack 5 for 5% off. Now let's get started into the rest of the video. I kind of want to start the video off with a nice little 1-card combo, and then we can get into like the card by card. So let's get into kind of like the combo, right? So the main starter for the deck is going to be a card called Novox, the Silence Enforcer Disciple. Okay, so let me just read to you what this card does. So the first thing you need to know is that if you were to ritual summon exactly 1 Light Warrior or 1 Dragon Ritual, with a card effect that requires the use of monsters, this card can be used as the entire tribute. So similar to like Nekroz or something. It was like a Nekroz main deck monster that like tributes itself and then searches like Trish or something like that. But you guys know what I'm talking about, okay? I only started playing recently, so just bear in mind with me. But this card, when it's no more special summon, can place a Silence Forcer continuous spell and trap from your deck face up in your spell and trap zone. So that's already a really nice effect because of the fact that it places the card directly into your spell and trap zone, meaning that it can kind of like pseudo bypass draw, which I'm a fan of. And if a light ritual monster and or dragon ritual monster summon to your field while this card in your graveyard, you can summon this card. So we're gonna activate the effect of Novox, and then we're gonna be placing a card called Silence Enforcing Barrier. Okay, this card is really insane. The first effect reminds me a lot of like Pearly Street and a Pearly My Friend all in one card. So the first effect is if you control Novox, the Silence Enforcer Disciple, which is this card, and a light ritual monster, your opponent can only target ritual monsters for attacks, and then your opponent cannot target light monsters you control with card effects. So that's gonna be really nice because against certain matchups, like they just cannot out an untargetable boss monster, right? The other piece is that during your main phase, you can add 1 Silence Enforcer card or 1 Skilled Guardian Ritual monster from your deck to your hand. So, like I said, very similar to My Friend, has protection effects like My Friend, like Pearly Street. So, really strong. Really big fan of that. Now we're going to add a card called Saphira, the Wise Silence Enforcer Queen from our deck to hand from Silence Enforcing Barrier. I skip a couple of steps here, but let me explain what I just did. Saphira uses her effect to discard this card, to send any ritual spell from the deck to the grave, and then you add a light warrior or a dragon ritual monster from deck to hand. So I'm going to activate her effect. I'm going to send a ritual spell in the forms of Silence Enforcing Prayer, and I'm going to add the Skill Guardian, right, which is the Silence Enforcing Protector, right? So this card is a light ritual monster, so it fulfills the second half of the requirements of controlling a Novox and a light ritual monster, right? So Saphira has a really nice second effect, right? You might be wondering, like, well, how do you perform the ritual summon? Well, her effect actually allows you to ritual summon a light warrior or a dragon ritual monster by attributing the monster from your hand whose level equals or exceeds the level of the ritual monster you ritual summon, right? So it says right here, you ritual summon a light monster by attributing monsters from your hand or field whose level equals, right? So that's really nice because if you have a Nibru or something, you can like tribute dead hand traps like a Nib, right? So Nib is a card that I would automatically like to put in this deck because Nib is a very high level monster that you can just tribute to perform ritual summon. So I think that's like really neat. And then you have something called Silence Enforcing Prayer. So it's just a ritual spell for any light ritual monster as its first effect. The second effect, the thing you need to know about the Silence Enforcing Prayer is you can also you can only tribute light monsters, right, from your hand or field. So you can't tribute like anything else. But like I said, Nibru is a light monster that you can tribute to like perform ritual summons for. I believe this one is ritual summon a light warrior by tributing monsters. So this doesn't care about the attribute that it tributes, but Silence Enforcing Prayer does care about the fact that you have to tribute light monsters if you were to use the first effect. The second effect is really neat, where it says if a face-up light ritual monster you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect, you can banish this card from your grave, special summon Saravis, the Ascended Dragon, Saphira, the Queen of Dragons, or Skull Guardian, the Silence Enforcing Protector from your hand or deck, ignoring the summoning condition. So it makes it so that even if you were to out the monster, it's not that simple, right? You have to still beat the follow-up from the ritual spell as well. So keep in mind, this is gonna be off one card, right? So we're gonna try to see how much we can do with just one card. The next piece is we're gonna activate Saphira's graveyard effect, and we're going to now ritual summon. Novox counts as the entire ritual summon, and now we're going to be summoning Skull Guardian, the Silence Enforcing Protector. So what does this card do? So first of all, if you control Novox, which we do, in the field or the grave, this automatically just doubles its attack, or it gains 2050, which goes to 4100. So 4100 boss monster already. And it has a couple effects. If this card is ritual summoned, you get to add any Silence Enforcing monster or any warrior dragon ritual monster from your deck to your hand. And then the second effect is pretty insane. When your opponent activates a card or effect while you control Novox, the Silence Enforcing Disciple, you just negate and destroy. So it's just a free Omni negate. Just by itself, if you could do this one card combo with Novox. Now, the chain links after this card gets ritual summon is going to be something like chain link 1 Skull Guardian to chain block Ash, chain link 2 Novox to place or to summon itself back. And you want to summon itself back because now you give Skull Guardian a Omni negate. Now, I'm showing you two options that you can add with the Skull Guardian. So, the first option is something called Saravis, the Sagely Silence Enforcer Dragon. This card can summon itself from the hand for free by shuffling 2 spells from your hand and or graveyard back into the deck, right? Including at least 1 ritual spell. So, we already have at least 1 ritual spell in the graveyard, but if you play like Nadir Servant, you play like Pre-Prep, anything along those lines, you would have another spell in the graveyard to actually successfully summon the Saravis, the Sagely Silence Enforcer Dragon as well. You can only summon this card once per turn this way, but the reason why you would want to summon it because it says when your opponent activates a card or effect, you can return this card to the hand and then special summon a light warrior or dragon ritual monster from your hand or deck. Typically, you're going to be summoning a Saravis off of Saravis, funny enough. And what this card allows you to do is it allows you to negate the special summon of a monster. So, let's say your opponent summons the Diablosaur, the Black Witch, right? She summons herself. You can actually negate her summon and then banish her, which is really insane. And then it bounces back to your hand, and then now you have a targeting protection as well, right? So pretty nice, right? I like that a lot. So that's the thing. But if you don't, then you can just ask to raise your hand and gain protection from your card from targeting effects, right? But they can't target you anyways because of a barrier. But this is kind of like pretty much the setup. But we're not done here yet. We're gonna make a link to that no one has really seen in a while, which is called Dynamondo. Okay, so this card going second is a really nice card because you can target a card on the field or the grave, or 1 card on the field and 1 ritual monster in the grave. Shuffle both in the deck. So it's basically like a unicorn that doesn't have to discard. And it recycles your ritual monsters. Pretty pog. And during your opponent's turn, it's a quick effect to tribute this card and then target a ritual monster in grave, either add it to your hand or special summon it. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this board and pass to our opponent. We're then gonna do the effect of Dynamundo and draw phase to tribute itself to summon back the Skull Guardian. We're then gonna trigger the effect of Novox because we, if a Light Dragon or Warrior is summoned while this card's in your grave, you can summon this card back, which allows you to summon this Novox. Novox then places a Silence Force trap because she was special summoned. So let's count the instructions we have. We have an Omni Negate in the form of Skull Guardian. We have a Silence Enforcing Authority, which has 2 effects, right? So you can shuffle any Light Warrior or Dragon Ritual or Ritual Spell from your hand or grave to the deck, and then you can take a Silence Enforcing monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or special summon it. The other effect is really, really insane, which is it has the ability to target cards your opponent controls up to a number of Light Warriors or Dragon Ritual monsters you control, and then destroy both them and this card. So it's kind of like a searchable trap pop, which is kind of fire. And at the moment, we have only 1 pop. So it's a 1 pop at the moment, but it's still really, really strong. If you were to get access to Ravis, you would actually have 2 pops, but that's no big deal. So you have 1 Omni Negate and then 1 pop, and then none of your stuff can be targeted, and you have Surveys in your hand to dodge targeting, or it could have been Surveys to Sage Silence and Force the Dragon to have another interruption there as well, right? So, yep, you see right here. Okay, so that's pretty much off the 1-card combo. I mean, there's a lot more you can do with the deck as you open more, but this is kind of just like a first look at the new archetype and my impressions and how I would currently deck build it. Now let's get into the deck building portion, right? So right now I have what people would consider a mainstay in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! A minimum of 12 hand traps, right? Like 12 hand traps is kind of like the standard bread and butter combos. You can interchange these as much as you want. I just have the ones I thought that were really nice. The most important one to note is the Nibiru because it is a light rock. So it's not as important that it's a rock monster, but the fact that it's a light monster is really nice because you're able to tribute it. Then we're going to play 3 of the main starter, Novox. I have considered playing 1-for-1 as well because she is a 1-card combo, so we might look into playing that. I know some people have teched Diviner as well to like get access to her. I think that's going to be something I'm going to be looking into experimenting with, but as of right now, I think this list that I'm currently playing isn't really that bricky and it's been pretty solid for me. Then we have pre-preparation of rights, which allows you to add a ritual spell from your deck to hand and the ritual monster. So obviously this card is just going to be naturally good. You have Saphir, which allows you to send a ritual spell from your deck to the graveyard and then add the Light Warrior or Dragon Ritual. That's the card that I showed earlier in the combo. This card is going to be a 3 of because it's like the main piece, and you want to max her out because she is a way to ritual summon without access to ritual spells. You only need 2 Skull Guardian and 2 Serapis because you have a multitude of ways to get access to these cards, right? So you don't really need them. You play 3 of the Barrier because, you know, it's like I said, it's a Rota card, so you want to maximize your copies of it. If you hard open Barrier, it's still full combo because you can go Barrier effect, grab Novox, right? Novox effect, get you the trap, and then all you need pretty much after that is just a ritual monster. So you have the Prayer. Prayer is basically the ritual spell that we talked about. I played 3 Nadir Servant mainly because I think it gives the deck some more pushes going second. Typically these type of strategies, like the ritual strategies, don't really have they're not like Necros where like you're summoning Trish, you're banishing your opponent's stuff, you're cracking the board. I think that like Nadir gives you that extra that extra push going second into boards, which I think could be really, really clean. I play cards like multiple Garuas, multiple Herald, also because of the fact that if this deck doesn't actually use its extra deck that much, which makes me want to cut. I think I want to cut pre-prep for Prosperity, guys. I think pre-prep might be good. It is a good card. It does add 2 cards, but Prosperity being able to add any card you want is like insane. And then like I think that's like has a lot more utility and a lot more value. But anyways, getting to the point, the reason why I'm playing Super Poly is because of the fact that if I'm already committing a lot of extra deck cards to the Nadir Servant, why not also play a bomb card like Super Poly if I could, right? And my extra deck is pretty open. Like, you could change a lot of cards in the extra deck, so I think that this deck has a lot of room for Super Poly. And it doesn't really conflict with Nadir because you can activate Super Poly first, going second, and then you activate Nadir, so just a bunch of bomb cards. And this deck generates a lot of free card advantage. So Super Poly will always have free discards. Like, you just go +1 on a lot of interactions. So I think that's really, really neat. You have Silence Forcing Authority, which is the strike card we talked about. And then all dies Pendulum Graph. So This is a light dragon rituals, which means it is searchable. So the pendulum effect is that it can add a ritual spell from your deck or grave to your hand, and then return this card back to hand for follow-up. So this card must either be ritual summon or pendulum summon from your hand. The way this card works is once per turn when your opponent activates a spell card or effect, you can place it in the pendulum zone and then negate that effect. And then you have the option to summon an odd-ice monster. I don't really think you need to play target for it, but you can if you like. So this card's like really good follow-up, and it's a spell negate, which spell cards are broken in the format, right? So it negates the effect on the activation, so your opponent can just play more copies if they would like to. So the side deck is kind of generic, so I'll just leave it kind of open for you guys. Won't really go too much in details to it. I think the only notable card is Ghost Bell, and that's gonna be it. The extra deck is going to be cards for Nadir like Malong, which allows you to bounce cards your opponent controls. Herald, Garua, Intis, Mud Dragon. You have cards like Typhon for break. Like I like utility cards in the extra deck that can help you win going second. So Typhon is like a good example of that. Unroll Goddess for like the Pearly matchup. I doubt it'll come to that point, but maybe. Dynamundo, 2 of them because I think this card is really good. SP Little Knight, you can go Dynamundo into SP. Lina, you get Veiler, you get Nibbed, stuff like that. In the mirror match, this card's insane. And then Anima Karibo just for like Novox and for making Little Knight live, right? So that's pretty much the deck, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed my first look at Silence Enforcer, and I think I'm gonna be picking this core up as I enter the new Phantom Nightmare set. I think it's a nice alternative to all the fire decks, and I feel like it's grossly super underappreciated, and in light of all the fire decks that are coming out. But anyways, guys, thank you so much, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Don't forget to subscribe.